Hey, what is up guys? I hope you're doing well. Today's video we're going to be talking about essentially the Spartan 1 reprogramming system. So when we talk about reprogramming, what reprogramming is meant to do is to get your subconscious to get on board with whatever we're doing, right? So when we look at all of the dimensions of life, when we were growing up, we probably formed ideas about how good we are at sports, how good we are at math, how good we are at basically any aspect or subject of life. We kind of formed an association to it. So if our goal is to get to the point where we are masters of that subject or are proficient at performing in a certain way, we want to have the largest part of our mind, which is the subconscious mind, programmed properly for that. Now that doesn't mean that we're not going to take action, that we're not going to do the things that we need to do to get to that next place or that dimension of skill. But what we want to do is we want to get off on the right foot by basically having our system download matrix style programs that support what we're going to be doing in terms of who we are as the person succeeding at that activity. So for example, if we want to become someone who is fit and healthy 24/7, what we want to do is, number one, we want to change our story about who we are by crafting that story handwritten. So when we talk about ourselves, a good example of lots of clients I worked with when it came to the meal prep industry was people would be like, man, I've just always been overweight. I've always had trouble with this. I've had this, this, and this. And that was a rehearsed story that they were telling themselves about who they were. So once again, not right or wrong, but if our goal is to be somebody who's fit and healthy 24/7, then what we would want to do is we would want to create a story, a brand new story, that says essentially the exact opposite of that, which would say, you know, I'm someone who's always been able to be fit and healthy. Food doesn't really have that much of an effect on my weight. I've got a great metabolism. And initially when you start doing this, you may think that it sounds like you're almost lying to yourself. But what that is your subconscious defending that old story, right? Because what it has done is it has accepted that story as a truth or one of your truths. So the subconscious will defend that, meaning that if you're putting in a new story, there are systems in place that basically block that. A good example would be is if you've ever watched the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he goes into whatever the dream world is, the, God, what's the name of that movie? Where they're going in and they're basically planting an idea in somebody's mind, whatever that movie is. And he goes into somebody else's dream and their subconscious starts to attack him because he's a foreign entity. That new idea will be basically a foreign entity to your subconscious. So if you try to force it, it's not going to work. Now what we do is we use what's called the principle of auto-suggestion, meaning that essentially the subconscious mind can be convinced, but it's not very good at being delegated to. So if we try and force this new story, it's not going to work. So the way that we would do it is we would incrementally start to convince our subconscious through auto-suggestion, which is essentially repetition. Meaning that the more we can start to put in little bits of information, little bits of ideas that will support that new story over a long enough period of time, organically it will start to adopt that new structure. So in the Spartan 1 reprogramming process, what we do is we take essentially 12 dimensions of life. We figure out what is optimal for each individual circumstance. Number one being, you know, spirituality, mental faculty, intelligence, physicality, and we figure out what that target is, and then we start to program that over the long term to get optimal subconscious programs that support that. And what happens is when you do that preemptive work, you're not pushing so hard against those programs and fighting against different programs. Meaning that when you want to get in shape, if you just go hard as shit and you just fucking go crazy, if you're not the type of person that your subconscious sees as somebody getting beneficial results from that, then what will happen is you'll get some success, but then you'll come back down. So our goal is to really create a permanent shift in the way that the subconscious sees you, and that way it's congruent and easy for you to make those changes in your life across those dimensions. So this is a quick snapshot of what we do in the Spartan 1 reprogramming process. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to book a consult with us, and we can basically go over what your specific situation is and if it's even a good fit for you. But I hope you guys enjoyed and have a great one.